Death is like the wind, always by my side. This story is not yet finished.
The breath of the earth in the heart of Ionia. The earth expands and contracts rhythmically with the footsteps of those who walk upon it. The scent of damp soil burns the senses, mingling with the aroma of decaying ancient sycamore leaves, freshly bloomed night lilies, and the dewdrops suspended in the air.
Is a leaf's only purpose to fall?
This is a geography where the mortal realm and the spirit world touch with their fingertips, where borders become translucent. The water of the rivers cascading down the mountain slopes holds no ordinary clarity. Within them, the shimmers of blue and purple runes move slowly, just like blood flowing through veins. The hum rising from the trunks of centuries-old trees resembles the breathing of giants in a deep winter slumber, rather than the friction of leaves against one another. The ancient story of Ionia is not carved into these lands with hammer blows or ink. The story is hidden in the growth direction of the moss on the rocks, in the geometric shapes drawn by pollen drifting in the air, and in that amber-colored warm fluid oozing from tree barks at night. Nature here is not a passive backdrop, but a living organism with a memory, watching everything. Yasuo feels the coldness of the damp rock face he leans against through his clothes. His palms are buried deep into the leather wrap on the hilt of his sword. His knuckles have turned white, his skin taut. His chest heaves rapidly like a bellows. The dry air accumulating in his throat hurts with every breath. A cold drop of sweat trickling from his temples follows his jawline, making its way toward his neck. The sharp blows of his heart against his ribcage have turned into a rhythmic thumping in his eardrums. With the sudden fall of the pollen suspended in the air, the familiar, cool touch of the wind on his skin cuts off. His skin crawls. His hair stands on end. With the departure of the wind, the smell of rotting flesh and burnt sulfur exhaled by the purple mist spreading across the valley savagely overpowers the scent of the lilies. The sulfurous scent of the mist choking the valley fills his lungs. That old, dark room in Yasuo's mind cracks open once more. Elder Suma's lifeless body, his abandoned post, and the blood spilled upon Ionian soil. The past descends like an invisible block of marble weighing on his shoulders. Every step he takes seems to whisper the names of the clan brothers he slaughtered to the earth. This old wound in his soul causes all the muscles in his body to tense, locking his teeth together. He realizes once again that what he is fleeing is not just the hunters pursuing him, but the monumental sin of his own creation. The steps of the three shadows opposite him quicken. The shrill sound of steel sliding from its scabbard shatters the absolute silence of the valley. Yasuo, with an instinctive reflex, thrusts his sword forward. He seeks that familiar driving force of the wind, but the tip of the blade cuts only empty air. The weightless steel has been replaced by a bare piece of iron, heavy as lead. The first hunter bursts from the purple mist like a storm petrel. As his sword passes over Yasuo's head, the air current it creates grazes his temple. Yasuo evades the blow by twisting his torso to the left, but the second hunter's spear has already found its mark. The long blackened steel drives into his skin just beneath his left rib. The sound of tearing fabric is followed by the sound of parting flesh. A muffled groan escapes Yasuo's lips. His balance shakes with that sharp, burning pain mounting on his left side. The warm blood oozing from the wound wets the fabric, trickling down toward his trousers. The pain tears away the veil of guilt in his mind. The survival instinct causes his heart to pound against his chest with an even more savage rhythm. His pupils dilate. His field of vision narrows. As the smell of his own blood mingles with the stench of rot in the valley, Yasuo plants his right foot firmly into the ground and throws his entire body weight forward. He swings his sword upward at a reverse angle. The steel meets the spearman's armor joint right at the neckline. With the clash of metal on metal, A dark, viscous purple fluid spurts from the hunter's torso instead of blood. Yasuo staggers back 2 steps from the impact, pressing his right hand against his wounded side. As warm blood seeps through his fingers, he comes face to face with that dull, sinister glint in the eyes of the remaining 2 shadows. His eyelids grow heavy, as if molten lead has been poured over them. The purple shimmers of the 2 shadows before him turn into blurry lines, gradually bleeding into one another. That burning ache beneath his ribs is replaced first by numbness, then by a bottomless cold that takes over his entire body. The savage pounding in his ears grows muffled, as if he were deep underwater. Yasuo tries to grip the hilt of his sword, but his fingers no longer obey his will. The steel falls silently onto the damp earth. As his knees buckle, the rot-scented moisture of the Ionian soil strikes his face. His field of vision narrows completely, swallowing the dark valley and the shadows upon it. The return of consciousness comes with a sharp mountain air piercing his lungs. Yasuo takes a deep, jarring breath and cracks his eyes open. His gaze initially catches on the wooden beams of the ceiling and the silhouettes of wild mountain herbs left to dry, hanging from those beams. This place resembles an abandoned sanctuary carved out of the rocks, or a hermit's hut. The moment he tries to straighten up, that familiar ache on his left side drives into his brain like a whip. Clenching his teeth, he brings his hand to his ribs. His torn, blood-stained garment has been replaced by a tight bandage made of clean linen cloths, soaked in medicinal herbal extracts. The scent of crushed leaves over his wound has completely erased the sulfurous rot of the valley. Gripping the edge of the bed, Yasuo sets his feet upon the floor. Not a sound is to be heard inside the hut. There is neither the sound of breath nor the patter of a footstep. Only the crackle of embers dying out in the stone hearth in the corner can be heard. His gaze shifts to the crude wooden table in the center of the room. His sword rests on the table, completely cleansed of mud and that purple, sticky fluid, polished bright. Right beside it lies a single object, intentionally left by the mysterious hand that bound his wounds. A piece of marble stone bearing the ancient symbols of the Wind Clan, yet split in 2 down a clean line. The gentle breeze drifting in through the open door of the hut sweeps Yasuo's hair back from his face. The wind has returned, but this time, the breeze touching his skin feels less like a friend and more like a riddle woven from whispers. There is no one else in the room, but the fresh footprints in the dirt show that his savior has not wandered far. Yasuo picks up the cloven marble stone from the table. As his fingertips trace the rough, fractured line of the stone, he feels that the chronic weight in his chest is deeper than the ache of the wound in his ribs. How many years had it been? His steps had always been taken to flee the next town, the next hunter. But this broken stone reminds him of the one thing he cannot flee: himself. He binds his sword to his waist and steps out of the narrow door of the hut into the Ionian Valley, where dawn is about to break. The mist has dissipated, and the sky has taken on a lilac hue. Looking out at the vast mountain range stretching before him, that ancient Stoic wisdom, the immutable law of nature and reason, echoes in his mind. That whisper of Marcus Aurelius, reaching across centuries, mingles with the breath of the earth. We cannot control the events that shape our lives. The only thing we can control is our response to them. Yasuo closes his eyes. He takes a deep, unshakable breath. The wind blows upward from the bottom of the valley, billowing his cloak. This time, he does not try to summon the wind by force, to bend it like a weapon. He merely surrenders himself to this great cycle of nature, to the universal will of the Logos. Elder Suma's death, the blood of his clan brothers, these relentless roads to which he was unjustly exiled. All of it happened because it had to happen. The past is an unalterable stone, the future a cloud of dust in the hands of the wind. The only moment he can live is right now, the damp earth beneath his feet. The guilt within him is replaced by a relentless acceptance. Every pain he has endured is a fire that melts his soul and tempers it into steel. He embraces his fate with all its sins and grievances. Amor Fati. To love one's fate is his sole salvation. When he opens his eyes, that old, tempestuous restlessness in his gaze has subsided. The wind begins to turn gently around his sword once more. Not because it bows to his will, but because he accepts that he is a part of the wind, the earth, and the universe. Yasuo does not even look at the fresh footprints left by his mysterious savior. It does not matter where the road leads. What matters is to be on the road. He loosens his grip on the hilt of his sword, tucks his shakuhachi flute into his sash, and begins to walk toward the first light of the sun with that absolute tranquility within him. The storm has passed. The exile is finally home, because his home is his own mind. The moment a man confronts his own sin is quieter than the clash of steel against steel. In this remote valley of Ionia, the wind no longer carries Yasuo's fury. Instead, it spreads across his skin the cold dew drops oozing from damp rock crevices, the sour scent of decaying wild mountain herbs, and the taste of salty sweat trickling from his temples. Most people wait for the storm to pass. Yet, true salvation lies in being able to continue taking steps even in the very eye of the storm, while feeling the warmth of that burning, throbbing pain beneath the ribs. The sensation felt as his fingertips trace the sharp, rough, fractured line of the marble stone is proof that the past is an unalterable block of ice. The metallic taste of blood lingering in his mouth and the sulfur burning the back of his throat whisper to him that he is alive. This is not a destination. Tomorrow, the footsteps of the hunters pursuing him will pound this earth once more, and steel will meet flesh again. But now, even when the stench of rot mingling with the valley's purple mist savagely overpowers the purity of the lilies, Yasuo's ribcage will no longer tremble like a blacksmith's bellows. The savage pounding in his ears has bowed to the universe's own rhythm, to the great and ruthless symphony of the Logos. The story does not end happily, because the story does not end. The road reshapes itself with the damp earth he steps upon. The exile has thrown the door of that dark room within his own mind wide open, breathing in the cold wind drifting inside. Home is not the place you flee to. It is the place where you accept to carry all that raw flesh, blood, and sin upon your back, and keep on walking.
Just looking for a road home.